Tell us all about you first, Margaret. You're the host.
No, I can go last, but yeah, welcome to Wellbeing Weekly, and today's topic is taking charge of your health, and I'm hoping that we're going to get Reed Jenner, who is the author of, help me out, Being Your Own Health Detective. It's something like that title. It's fantastic, and I love the title, and I love the concept of taking charge of your own health. And Reed's just having some techie problems getting into the room at the moment, but I'm hoping he'll sort those out. And in the meantime, or as part of this conversation anyway, I'd love to hear, if Tanya could tell us all about, I know she's an amazing Aussie, and we're all Aussies, so we've got another amazing Aussie with Vin as well here. And Reed, if he makes it, is from Canada, but if anyone else pops in live and wants to jump into the room, that would be great too. So I heard Tanya talk the other night on a blab, and I was I was gobsmacked by the amount of stuff that she does and fits into a day. So Tanya, just tell us, who you are, what you do.
Okay. Yes, I would say that I'm a very busy mother. I have 4 children, 3 are my stepchildren, and 1 child that I bore. I went through pain with. But I'm not, as I said before, Margaret, I'm not a maternal mother. I mean, I love my children to death, but I'm not the mother who would sit on the floor and play Barbies with my children. I have a lot of passion myself, and it's to help other women, other busy women with passions, to follow their dreams and find a way of finding time to follow those dreams. So they may work full time and they've got an idea on the side that they want to grow that business. How do they find the extra time dealing with family, a full-time job, but also getting that bit of me time for themselves? So it's all about, and a lot to do probably with what you speak about being spiritual, about being centered, awareness, mindfulness, having their day sorted, knowing the direction that they want to go in, and just take baby steps every day to slowly get themselves to that spot. I'm also a bead artist. I sell my beads all around the world. I make lampwork glass beads over an open flame. So I'm a very creative soul. And then I work full time. I have a 9-to-5 job as a salesperson, selling risk mitigation software to real estate agencies. So there's the whole gamut. That's not my dream job. That pays the bills. And I'm growing the busy mums on the side and hoping to help other mothers like me fit more into their life.
Wow. You just blow my mind away hearing all of that stuff. I suppose it brings back memories of what I used to do, because I raised 4 children as well. I worked full time and then I studied as well. And so
We're a rare breed, Margaret.
It worked for me up to a point, and then it didn't work any longer. But I think you're amazing. And I think the key is exactly what you said. The key is being centered and coming back to who you are and being in touch with your body. How is my body coping with all of this? Because when we're out of touch with our bodies, we actually are on autopilot, and we don't have a clue what all of this stuff is doing to our bodies. But if we can be in touch, we can know that, okay, this is still fitting quite well, and I'm still energized by what I do. Yeah.
Sorry, so before you get to Vin, I just want to say something quickly before I forget. I've had a lot of pain in my back recently, like to the point that they're sending me a referral to see a neurosurgeon. I've got 2 discs that are bulging. I've got nerves impeding for the last, 4 months. I physically have not been able to get around. On the weekend, I touched base with a friend that I have not seen for about 5 years, and we are on the same wavelength spiritually at the moment. I'm doing a lot of meditation. There's a lot of things going on spiritually in my life and growth-wise. Now, on Blab the other day. I got on Blab and started speaking my truth from my heart about how I feel about helping women. And I, no word of a lie, 2 hours later, I had felt that 90% of the pain that I'd been carrying around in my back over the last 4 months had released. And I was trying to explain to my husband, he is spiritual, but not as spiritual as me. But I said, you know, it's nearly like I spoke my truth. I actually physically put myself out there to the public on Blab and spoke my truth. And within 2 hours, that pain that had been sitting in my lower back, which I know is all about support and all that sort of thing, had left my body. And that's the only explanation I've got, is that I spoke from the heart and finally got something off my chest. And someone had seen it on Blab that I hadn't connected with for a long time, that I had been holding back from speaking the truth. And she saw that on Blab, and it's nearly like, I can't explain it, but I know that you could probably explain that better.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Tanya. That's really powerful. I think really powerful for others to hear that, and really affirming for them as well to reflect on their own lives, because I know that's, you know, I have a very firm belief, and through personal and professional experience, that it is the stories of our lives that are foundational in our chronic conditions. So we can have a back pain by bumping into something, the trailer on the way to the car or something, and that's like an acute pain, and so, yeah, you get that. But when you've got something chronic that goes on and on, it's continuous, that's the time to take a deeper look. And you hit on it. Yeah, you hit on it perfectly. Like, if it's in the back, how am I not being supported? And it's amazing the metaphors that come out in our body that parallel with our lives.
Yep.
Yeah. So thanks so much for sharing that, because I think that's a gift to so many people. So thank you. And do you want to put your web address or something in the comments so people have that, Tanya?
Yep.
And Vin, tell us about you.
Well, I'm Vintuitive. That's the name of my business. I deliver training, I do social media, and I develop websites for mainly small businesses, but also individual clients. That's my main meat and potatoes, so to speak. But I do a lot of live streaming as well. And in fact, I'm only here at your request, Marg, to do some troubleshooting, and I must leave in the next 5 minutes. But I'm going to come back and watch the replay, because I think Tanya is sitting on the gold here that everyone wants to know. I don't have any children. I don't have really any family. I don't have any external responsibilities at all. I can dedicate 24 hours of my day to whatever I want. Yep. And yet I'm struggling to take care of just the few projects that I have on my hands at the moment. Social media is a problem. It can create a lot of burnout. This is a risk that I'm sure you've dealt with. You've overcome it, obviously, because you're able to be productive still.
I can already see, and I wanted to do a blab, and it could be something I do in conjunction with you guys, is watching now the people that are live streaming. Our time is precious, people.
Yep.
And I wanted people blab with a purpose. Get on here, and there's a reason to be on here. Don't just lurk. Don't just waste your time here, because I'm coming back, and Margaret, I'm coming back for a purpose to try and connect with people that are similar to, in the end, help people but grow my business. Now, I see the same people on here all the time, and I'm not talking Aussies. Every minute I get, even if it's just to click in to see what's going on quickly before I go and do something else, it's the same faces. And I'm thinking, do these people have a life? Blab isn't your life. Blab's here to complement your life and help you grow and connect and problem solve and speak your mind, but it's not an outlet. So I'm seeing a lot of people using this as a form of escape, and I think there's got to be, and there's got to be in yourself. And this is the whole thing, Vin, like when I want to help people with structuring their day, not to the point that this is a rigid schedule, but what is the most important things that you want to achieve in life, and what little thing can you do each day to help that? Once you've done all that, blab away. But if you've done none of it, get off.
Yeah. I can come up with hundreds of excuses that I can imagine people were going to say. I'll give you one. I'm in Australia. I can't leave it to the last minute because everyone's gone to bed then. I have to start first thing in the morning when America and Europe are still awake.
Yep.
And and that is true. So in Australia, you'll find a lot of us trying to get our broadcasting done first thing in the morning to catch that. But God, there's millions of techniques, and you need to find the right approach that suits you, of course. But I do have to leave, but I would love for you to talk a lot more about that. I'd also like to add that your story sounds almost identical to mine. I have back injuries, pretty severe ones, and my lower back is particularly a problem. A couple of weeks ago, I just bent over to pick up a piece of firewood to put it in the fireplace, small piece like this, and I put my back out and it pinched a nerve, my lower back. It's just because of crushed cartilage, and so that, whenever I flex my back now, like bending over, I have the risk there that I'm going to pinch a nerve. And once I pinch a nerve, that's it. I just have to sit down for about 3 or 4 days until that pinched nerve heals itself.
Well, yeah, I've kept going, and I'm at the point now that I can't sit for very long without my legs going into spasms. And it's since the other day when I spoke about it, the actual pain has left my discs in my back, and that's where most of the pain. I've got the radiating sciatica going down my legs. But now, because my discs seem to be okay, the muscles that for the last 6 months haven't really been in the right place or doing the right things. So they're now cramped. It's like I've got constant cramps in my calves and my upper, in my thighs. So in the mornings, I'm nearly having to get my partner to help me actually I can't put my jeans on. I need someone to help me put my jeans on. Luckily, my husband's very helpful. Otherwise, it'd be my 10-year-old daughter. But, yeah, like I look okay from the outside, but you know what it's like. Then we get off here, I'm flat out making it to the door. But I've found that once I had said what I was here for in this life, when I said this is what my passion is, I'm not scared to tell anyone. I don't have to be a designated life coach to do this. I don't need an expert degree on this because I'm living it, and I've got the ability to share it. It's nearly like I constantly affirm to everyone the belief in myself, and that was the support I was not getting. It wasn't not that I wasn't getting the support from my family, it was that I was not getting the support from myself.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, Mark, I don't want to take over, but I just needed to ask that Peachy, what does the rock tape mean? She says we need to figure out what rock tape is. She said she wants to massage us too. That's the thing. When you talk about clenched up muscles, my muscles in my lower back are so tightly clenched that I can't flex it. I can't. It's like just let go of my back, please.
It's like an elastic band about to break, isn't it? You feel like at any minute your body's going to release and you're going to be on the floor.
Wow.
Where are you guys located?
Hello,
Adelaide.
We're Aussies.
Fernvale in Queensland.
Oh well, if you're anywhere near
Fernvale, just outside near the Wivenhoe Dam.
So I'm in Brisbane. So
oh wow, and 4 Aussies.
Oh, you are the latest addition to the Aussie live streamers Twitter list. Which you'll find in this chat.
I'm going to add you to the Aussie live streamers.
Oh, thank you. I'm listening to you guys talking, and I'm like, oh my goodness,
I've got so clients.
I know. I'm like, I want to reach through the screen and like massage you guys.
Please do. I'll turn around. Hang on.
But one of the things that I'm starting to do, and I think both of the guys here with the lower back, Vin and Tanya, you guys, if you've ever heard of rock tape or kinesthetic taping, no, never heard of that? I'm doing, I'm starting to do what's called rock tape for rookies, and it's to help people like you guys, so rock tape is a type of kinesthetic taping. I just literally did a Periscope on it like 10 minutes ago. My partner called me up from his workshop and was like, oh, my wrist. And it's so simple and it's so effective, and you can use it every day to support your body through these like moments where you have like where you've tweaked your lower back, Vin, where you've gone and you don't want someone to touch it, but you need that decompressive force through the lower back to be able to support it. And I love it because it's a tool you can.
It's like pebbles, and you've got. Is it like a pebbles, and you're putting rock over it to press on certain?
No.
That's not you, is it? Who are you? What's your handle on Periscope?
Christy.
On Periscope, it's at _muscle mechanic.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm the muscle mechanic.
Yes.
Yeah.
My laptop and my phone have two different Twitters, and I've got like 3 Twitters at the moment. And
you're doing what I do. We sort of stuffed up. We should have everything under one.
I know. But hold the thought, because I'm going to go grab my tape. So don't go.
I think.
Just for others, here it is.
Yes.
Cool.
That's me.
Cool.
That's my Periscope.
Yay.
So this is rock tape. It's soft and stretchy. Yes, that's watch as I rock tape a wrist for my boy literally at his workshop. He is a real mechanic. So rock tape is really soft and pliable. You can buy it at a chemist. It's usually about $20 a roll, and a roll's about 5 meters. And basically there are ways that you can apply it to help take the pain out of your body. So it takes the pain out of really specific spots. I've been doing a few different Periscopes, particularly around this, because I've found that using it as a treatment tool, so when I do a massage, I'll work for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours with someone. We'll work through all their pain and we'll do all these different things. But then we need to have something that kind of sets it into their tissue. And the rock tape is what does that. So the rock tape helps to feed the nervous system and tell the nervous system that the new information that we've inputted needs to continue on. And so particularly if your disc issues, Tanya, have resolved at the disc level, but muscularly you're struggling, this can be really great to help take that pain and tension out of the calves and the feet.
Yep. Okay.
If you go back over my catch feed, I did a taping for plantar fasciitis, which would be the same kind of thing that you would do for your calves. So it'd be a really similar taping for that. I'm working at the moment to, like I said, to build what they call, I'm calling it rock tape for rookies, because the rock tape people do courses for practitioners like myself, but it's so simple that it's a take-home tool for people. So I'm really like pumped on giving it to people to be able to do it for themselves, because I'm a really firm believer in self-care is the most important thing that you can do. And particularly from a physical level, like if you should be able to maintain your own body.
Yeah, spot on, Christy, and that's exactly what the topic is today, taking charge of your own health. So that's amazing, and I love that. I actually hadn't heard of rock tape before.
Yeah,
but that's fantastic. I use a tool that's called EFT. I don't know if you know that, Emotional Freedom Techniques, and basically, and that is so powerful. So I think with any chronic condition, like I have a 2-fold formula for overcoming or dealing with chronic conditions. And one is managing the condition as best you can. And the other one is actually finding the treatment, the resolution to the cause, the original cause and the foundation, and treating that and healing that. If you don't heal that, you're doing nothing more than putting beautiful plaster. You know, my metaphor is always like a boil. So we have the boil and it's a bit ugly, and so we make it look pretty nice, and we put a nice dressing over it, and we feel better to go out in public, and that's great. And if we leave it at that, that's fine. But underneath the beautiful dressing is still the gunk that's accumulating more and more. And if we fail to dig in deep to the gunk, and that's the metaphor, what is the gunk in our lives that has caused this pain? And Tanya was very insightful for her own lack of support, and actually healing that and treating that and feeling at peace with that. And it's only when we arrive at that peace within us that we can begin, I think the chronic condition starts to take a line of improvement.
Yeah, it starts to unravel itself.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump out and let this seat free for
thanks
your
for helping us out, Ben. Thanks so much.
I hope he's. Thank you.
Everyone, he's amazing.
Thank you. I do hope that his problem is fixed, and we'll see when he tries to fill my seat. Thanks again, Christy. I will be watching your videos. I've put your catch link in there for other people so that you can watch past videos from Christy.
Thank you. You're the best.
Thank you. I'll see you all later. We'll meet again soon.
Yes. See you.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. So, Reed, if you try and click on that seat now, hopefully you can come on in. Just click on the seat. We've got Reed Jenner who's viewing, and he's the author of Be Your Own Health Detective. And so I'm hoping he had some techie problems before, that when he came into the seat, his sound didn't work. But hopefully he can come in now. So
I just messaged him to say come in. So
yeah, thanks. I was just about, here we go. Hopefully we'll give it a go. So, Christy, I'm so glad that you're here. And I heard you in a blab yesterday with Bronwyn Clem, and that was great.
Thanks. I just seem to jump in and be like,
no, let's just hear from Reed. Are we hearing from you?
Can you hear me?
Hey!
Oh my God. Holy moly. Fourth time is a charm. Woo.
Okay, you're on a roll.
I would hardly say that. But anyhow, we're in. Welcome, everybody. Hi.
hi.
There you go. The patience pays off. So, Christy, I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Maybe because Reed's had such trouble, if we just let him introduce himself and then we come over to you. Christy, is that okay?
I'm happy to just listen. So I'd
love to know, because everyone needs to know about your amazing work and where you're from. So these videos, the broadcasts get captured on my webpage as well, and so people may find you from there. Being an Aussie and all. There might be someone from Brisbane who's just looking for you.
Tanya.
Are you in Brisbane, Tanya?
Yeah, I've just messaged Christy to say I'll be coming for an appointment.
Are you in Brisbane?
I'm in Fernvale, just outside Brisbane.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I get over to. I was in Brisbane 2 weeks ago. I heard the wonderful Wayne Dyer, God rest his soul, talk on stage in Brisbane along with Anita Mojani. A beautiful weekend, just 2 weekends ago, and now, poor Wayne, well, no, he wasn't worried about death. It's the next phase. So,
Wow.
yeah. So I'm often over on the East Coast, but I'll catch up with you ladies sometime.
Yeah,
but let's hear from, I think Reed's from Canada, am I right?
Yes, Vancouver, Canada. Thank you.
Vancouver. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm the author of a book titled Be Your Own Health Detective. This is what it looks like. Wow, it comes out backwards on the camera.
No, to us.
No,
it's to
we're
us.
seeing it.
You see it correctly.
It's correct.
That's so weird. That's so weird. Freaky. Anyhow, so I'm really kind of building my author platform and beginning to get some traction and spending quite a bit of time on social media. And one of the things that I'm doing and spending a lot of time with is I'm helping people tackle, some particularly tough problems that their doctors haven't been able to solve and they haven't been able to solve. It's a very kind of rigorous process for analyzing the history of somebody's illness to get, as Mark said, to get to the root cause of the problem. And almost always when we do this, we find that there's some sort of environmental or lifestyle issue that is to blame for the symptoms. And once you find that, it's usually a really simple fix and a drug-free fix, which you can implement fairly quickly to make the problem go away. So that's kind of what I do, and that's my platform, and I'm doing it full time, and I'm really excited to be working with Marg and some of this new media that I'm being introduced to for the first time here, Blab.
Yeah, there's a little bit of feedback. I'm not sure whose mic. It might be yours, Reid. Just not sure. It's not too bad. Are you hearing it, Christy and Tanya?
Yeah, a little bit of. I'm hearing a little bit of sort of like someone else talking in the background type of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that any better?
Yeah. So that's fantastic, Reid. Do you have an office base in Vancouver, or do you work from your home? How do you reach people?
Almost all the work I do is online. Part of the beauty of this system is I don't really need to touch or see people to do this. It's all kind of verbal. I'm really asking questions to collect information about the history of the illness. And you can see, if anybody's interested, I have a website where you can download free worksheets. I have a blog where there's many success stories, cases that I have posted on my blog. And if you'd like, I can give you those links in a minute.
Yes.
But
please.
the beauty, I think, the real advantage is that unlike a doctor where you mostly have to go in and see the doctor, and it's sometimes a bit invasive, right? You're being touched and prodded and poked and lots of tests. All I do is just ask a lot of questions and collect some very specific data, again, about the history of the illness. And it is extremely effective in uncovering the root cause of the problem, which is almost always some sort of environmental issue, toxin or diet or lifestyle, something like that, which is normally quite easily fixed.
Reid, are you sort of working on the level of epigenetics as well, or?
I think the closest thing, Tanya, that you could equate this to is naturopathy.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's very much like that. Epigenetics, there is, I like to argue that for people that think they have a genetic condition, and some obviously are fully genetic, but I think a lot of those so-called genetic conditions require an environmental trigger, Tanya. So yes, epigenetics definitely comes into play in a lot of the issues that I get involved with my clients.
Mm. Yeah, and that's the case with, I think that's being recognised with many conditions now, that there may be a predisposition in people for a particular condition so that they're born with that predisposition, but it's only when environmental factors come into play that disposition may actually be set off, if you like, and be inflamed, for want of a better word, into the illness that they are predisposed to. And if we know more about the environmental factors, including lifestyle, toxins, then we can take measures to reduce that, and so that we may not succumb to that illness after all. So that's really interesting. The one question, Reid, I was curious about is, once people respond to these questions, what next?
Well, as I say, we have a very high success rate. It's 80% or thereabouts. And so almost always there's a smoking gun, one thing that we find, and I can give you lots of examples if you like. And once we find that one thing that is causing the problem, all you have to do is remove it to make the problem go away. So again, usually you don't need to see a health professional. There's no drugs involved, hardly ever any drugs involved or any other tests required.
So are you talking about environmental, removing themselves from the environmental, or are you also looking at the state of mind of someone as well, or is it just a physical?
Sometimes, yeah. Sorry, Tanya. It's almost always a physical issue. I mean, we all know that stress plays a big role in facilitating the development of disease by compromising our immune systems primarily. But that's not usually enough all by itself to create disease. There's some sort of trigger or a toxin or a dietary issue that is setting it off. And I'll just give you one really, really quick and simple example that I worked on recently, a woman who had been suffering with migraines. Well, actually, I'll give you an even simpler one because I just did it last week. A woman that had been suffering with very heavy night sweats ever since she had her child about, I think it was 6 or 7 years ago. And this happened every month, at that point in her monthly cycle, when she had her period for about 7 or 8 days straight, she would have extremely heavy night sweats. And it was so heavy she'd have to put many towels down and it still didn't work. Anyhow, we went through the process and we found that when she became pregnant, she started taking a very large prenatal vitamin that had iron and calcium and I forget folic acid, some of the other minerals that you take in a prenatal vitamin, but it was an extremely large vitamin. And she's a very petite woman, about 98 pounds. She started sweating profusely the moment she started nursing her child. And then it continued, even after she stopped nursing her child, every month, mostly during her period. So anyhow, long story short, we went through the process. We came up with a hypothesis that her multivitamin that she takes daily has some metals in it, heavy metals, and that's the purpose of sweating. Sweating, among other things, removes metals from your system. So I said, hey, there's nothing to lose here. Why don't you just try going off the vitamins for a short period of time, do a little test. If you're worried about it, talk to your doctor. Anyhow, she went off the vitamins and the night sweat stopped immediately and have not come back. So that's just one of hundreds of examples I could give you. But again, it points to the fact that there's almost always a single thing. It's an environmental thing normally. Sometimes it's dietary, which I guess you could also say is environmental. And once you find it, it's super easy to fix the problem.
Yeah. So, Reid, I come from a different perspective.
Go ahead.
And it's great. I think it's great that we can have these conversations. That's the beauty of it. I work as a psychologist, and my take is that there, and I've written,
yes.
I'll show my book. This is the book. It comes out back to front. Learning to live, learning with chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. So, and I wrote that from a obviously personal perspective and professional perspective. So I did, and I said to you before, Tanya, that super crazy lifestyle I was living worked up to a point, and then I absolutely crashed and got into this chronic condition. What I discovered, and my perspective now, is that most, dare I say, most chronic conditions, and I'm open to the difference of opinion here and your findings, Reid, but they're multifactorial. And so not only is it environmental, and yes, I did have a virus to begin with, but I actually needed to do the emotional and psychological work in order to clear out of my system that condition. And bit by bit, as I did that work, and you know, this took quite a while to become well again to a point that I can maintain good energy. But whilst I failed to ignore, and I was given that advice by someone in America actually on email, and they said, if you want to get better, you must be prepared to do the emotional work. And back then I wasn't a psychologist. And I thought, oh, rubbish. You know, I'm a doer. I don't need that stuff. You know, that's just gets in the way. And now I come back to it as absolutely foundational. You must do the emotional work if you want to clear out the chronic conditions. And yes, definitely, you know, I'm absolutely sure of environmental factors that impact. So I do come to this position of believing that many chronic conditions, dare I say most, are actually multifactorial. And we have to look at the body, mind and spirit in order to get,
I
get
agree,
the best healing possible.
Only from you, I don't know, Reed, when you were having the technical difficulties, I was talking about my back condition that I've got at the moment. I've got a bulging disc and nerves trapped in my back that they're going to send me off to a neurosurgeon. That's not my gig. I don't want to do that. I want to try and look at how I can fix myself, and that's obviously what your book is about. I was speaking to Margaret before about I also come from a metaphysical point of view with it's the same as Margaret, that I knew that there was something within me, especially being lower back. That's all about the support, not getting support. Now, most people would think that's not getting support from your family, like your family not supporting me in my ventures, or my friends aren't supporting me in my ventures. But I actually realised it was me not supporting me. And when I spoke my truth just recently about what it is I want to do and what I want to achieve, I felt a lot of pain leave my discs, and now they're into my muscles, which we were speaking to Christy about. But I also totally agree with you, because I feel that I've been not working with, but listening to Sean Stevenson over in the States, who's got the Model Health Show, and he's sort of very much on the fact with you, Reed, about the environmental aspects of, you know, health. And I know in myself, no one's diagnosed me, but I know that obviously carbohydrates with me cause inflammation, and the inflammation is all around the discs and the muscles. So I know that maybe if I was diligent enough to cut out the carbohydrates and the sugar in my diet, and from all types of sugar, that I would probably have less problems. But I also believe it's a combination of myself being whole, and then looking after, because I don't think nothing can be separated. We're all one. The emotional, the health, everything is together. We can't treat one thing without recognizing there is something else there. So I do understand what you're saying, Reed, and I agree with you. But I think also with Margaret, there's another level on top of that we have to consider as well.
Okay.
So, Christy, if I can just come back to Christy, because she hasn't really had an opportunity to introduce herself. Great to have you, Christy.
Hi, my name's Christy. I run a business in Brisbane called Feeling Peachy, and I am a muscle mechanic. So I deal specifically with physical problems that people come to me with. So my favorite thing to deal with at the moment is frozen shoulder. So I'm all about dealing with that stuff with people. But I also really love helping people find and resolve why they're having chronic conditions, or why these issues keep coming up. And it's really interesting, because I've been listening to what everyone's been saying, and there is generally, with a physical condition, there's one, like you said, Reed, there's that one thing that if they just unlock that, change it, get it out of their life, it will open up the ability for them to start working on the bigger stuff. So I think, you know, when you've got a physical problem, a physical solution is often what you want. Like the night sweats you were saying, Reed, it's like she just doesn't want to sweat. Like, and so stopping that means that she can then go, oh, I have this space now that I'm sleeping better, I'm feeling better in myself, I can cope better with life, and I can come towards maybe dealing with the emotional stuff that was hampering me as well. So I think there's this really beautiful balance that's struck between a physical condition and an emotional condition, and how those two things have to meld together to be able to holistically treat someone. So my view is really that I'm all about meat and bones. So I'm all about helping people get out of these patterns that stop them from progressing. And that's literally like stopping them from walking or stopping them from moving their joints properly. And I think when you're working in that level, like where I work, it's easy sometimes to see where the emotional stuff plays in. And I'm really blessed to have a really great network of emotional people who I can refer out to, because I know in myself it's not the space that I play in a lot. So it's really cool to kind of be on a blab with people who, like yourself, Reed, who are right there going, it's a trigger, there's an environmental thing, and then people like yourself, Mark, who are like, there's emotional stuff going on, and it's that blend. It's really awesome. I'm super pumped.
Christy, can I ask what modalities you use in your practice to help your clients?
Okay, so basically I use everything from traditional, like Swedish style massage, right through to, I've been training with a guy from the States called James Wozlowski and Eric Dalton, who work with myofascial techniques and myofascial release. I have been really lucky to work with some really big guys through Australia here who are doing a lot in the myofascial anatomy trains kind of the headspace. I use a lot of rock tape, as we've spoken about. So I try to blend and find and figure out what works for people. So I've done some orthobionomy, which is like really soft and gentle releasing. If I need to, I'll stick an elbow in there if it comes down to that. But yeah, exactly. And it's about, so it really comes back to being really good at diagnostics. So you have to look at the person and they tell you what is going to work for them when they come in. They say, I'm feeling really stressed, or I'm feeling, all these things. And you kind of go, okay, cool. Like, we can help you feel less stressed. It doesn't have to be some big, like all fists and elbows, like a whirling dervish. It can be soft and still be really powerful. So, and I think that's the difference is you meet people where they're at and then help them move past the space. So
you need that immediate release of pain, because coming from where I'm sitting at the moment, I want Reed and Christy to take my pain away, because my brain cannot process anything else until that pain has been released. Then I can move on to Margaret, because there's no way that in my headspace that I can deal with the emotional while that physical pain is eating me alive.
Can I?
Yeah, that's why I said my approach. I get a lot of people that come to me for physical pain because they know I'm an EFT practitioner and trainer. And so at the end of a long line of practitioners in other modalities, say, the doctor, the chiro, things that they've tried, and I did it too myself. I went through all of them and arrived at this technique that I knew wasn't going to work. A bit of tapping's not going to do anything. But you're absolutely right, Tanya. People need to manage their pain. That's why I said it's a twofold approach. You must manage the pain as number one, because you can't be in any other space whilst you've got pain. So you must take care of that pain and nurture yourself and be gentle with that, rather than, I think we try to resist it and pretend it's not there. And we know that adage of what we resist persists and all of that. So it's only when we become a lot more gentler with ourselves and nurture ourselves and do what we need to do to actually manage the pain or seek out the people who are going to give us the best results for that particular pain. And then we can move to, the other level of looking, what's beneath this pain now? You know, what I can put more energy into it. So, but just getting back to, if we really focus on the topic, taking charge of your health, I just wanted to put a question to you. Give us your number one tip. If we go around the boxes, well, for me, Reid, you're down
Let's go
underneath
clockwise.
me. I don't know
Christy,
if they're the same.
It's easy, right?
Oh, you want to go the other
you're
way?
in charge, Marg, whatever you want to do.
I'm just thinking, if you had to give somebody your best number one tip for taking charge of your health, what would it be?
Well, if you're asking for just one thing, I think the one thing that is most powerful is keep a symptom log. In other words, keep track of when and where you experience your pain and what you're doing when you experience that pain. And normally, you'll find a correlation that points to something in your environment, in other words, the location where you live, or something to do with your habits, your diet, your lifestyle, stress, or something rarely unique about you anatomically compared to other people that aren't having the same condition. So if there's only one thing, I would say that might get you 50% of the time your solution, just doing that.
Yeah. Thanks, Reid. How about Tanya?
Well, I won't say you stole mine.
Oh, no.
No,
Really?
no, mine's I suppose I'm taking that one step to be awareness. I can't express that enough, of being absolutely aware of your surroundings and what you are feeling in that moment. So even if it's just to sit, when you've got the pain, to sit down and think. And it's sort of, I suppose, going, then log it, So it's that taking. Like for me, I'm probably my own worst enemy. I'll keep working through pain. I'll work and I'll go, I can get through this. I'll deal with it because I'm a tough mum and I've got to support everyone. But it wasn't until I decided to go, right, what is it? And be aware. And then that's when you can go to what you're doing, Reid, and saying, okay, I feel it when I'm always in this situation when I feel it. So I think awareness, stopping for a moment and actually thinking.
That helps. Nice.
Yeah. Christy, what's your number one tip for taking charge of
mine
your
is
health?
really practical, because this is something that I literally see every single day, and it is get up, stand up, get out,
right on,
get off, get out of your
Stop
chair.
Sitting. Exactly. We've got to stop sitting. It's so silly. It's very bad for us.
So the thing that I see most commonly, and I literally every single day I see people come in who don't breathe properly. Sitting compresses our diaphragm. Our diaphragm is our key, we're a one cylinder machine. We work off a big diaphragmatic membrane, and if that's not working properly, nothing else is working properly. So stand up, put your arms over your head, take a really big, deep breath, and let that diaphragm open right up. Because I think that pain comes when, pain is just your body trying to tell you something. So, and it's not always where the problem actually lives. So there's a beautiful saying by a lovely woman called Ida Rolf, and hers is where you think the problem is, the problem ain't.
Yeah.
So, and it's so true.
Yeah.
So breathing, get up, breathe more, make sure that you're focusing on that, and just get out of your kind of hunched over stuff. And I think that's probably, if I could tell everyone that one thing and more people would realize that, then I'd have a lot less work.
Yeah, we wouldn't have any clients.
Yeah, maybe. None of us would.
Well, I mean, the goal of probably all of us is to not be in the area of work that we're in, that we don't have clients, because there's no need for it.
Exactly.
Everyone's on a
But
roll.
there'll always be people ahead, and there'll always be people behind. So as
Of
long as
course.
we're ahead enough to help the people behind us catch up, we're fine.
What's your one thing, Margaret?
So I think
Yes.
my number one message, I suppose, to taking charge of your own health is being mindfulness. So and body awareness. In mindfulness, we can become more bodily aware, and I think, as the saying goes, the issues are in the tissues. And so we can actually become more aware of where the issues, what parts of our bodies, what tissues are in pain or are crying out for more help or treatment, when we're more bodily aware. And if we push through it, if we're oblivious and we shut down from the pain that we're experiencing, we're missing the mark, and we're just allowing the issues to build up more tension in the body, because I think that's what pain is all about. It's tension in our bodies, and it's when we begin to relax our bodies that the body can begin to heal itself. It's very hard to think of the body being able to heal itself amidst all this tension going on. We're expecting it to move mountains and to get past all of the tension. And so it's in the relaxation and the mindfulness.
Reid, with
That
your
would be my
work,
number one
have
tip.
you dealt with many people with, say, chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and things like that? And what sort of, what sort of outcomes have you had? And have you found a recurring environmental trigger with those diseases as such?
I have, Tanya. Thanks for asking. And again, I want to try to keep this brief. We could talk for hours about that one. First off, short answer, yes, I have been actually trying to focus more and more of my energies on the various types of chronic illnesses, especially autoimmune type illnesses, of which you're probably aware there's 80 some odd types. Fibromyalgia is an interesting one because for me, I think it's kind of a misnomer. I mean, it's really a catch-all term that simply means I have pain in my soft tissues. And so the key is to, like every other disease or discomfort or disorder, whatever you want to call it, is to analyze the cause. And so I'll just give you a really brief story like the last one, a client I was talking to not too long ago. So she had been suffering with extreme, what she called fibromyalgia pain, since she was 16. So this is 30 some odd years.
All right.
And there's a link back to Margaret, which you'll be glad to hear about in a minute here. But long story short, I went through all of the questions, and the one thing that came out that was really interesting was in these 30 years that had been pretty much chronic, terrible pain the entire 30 years, she had this brief window where she had traveled to, I forget exactly where it was, Nevada, somewhere in Nevada, to visit her sister for a few weeks. And during that time, she had a complete remission, and she just completely, no pain, felt entirely better. And so we examined, well, what's different about Nevada? And forgive me, I can't remember where exactly in Nevada it was. Or maybe it was Arizona. I'd have to check my files. Compared to Oregon, Portland, Oregon, where she had lived her entire life. Well, there's lots of things that are different, right? Sea level versus higher elevation. There's different flora. There's a lot of things. But one thing that was very interesting is there's a hell of a lot more sun in Arizona. I think it was Arizona versus Portland, which is very rainy, as you probably know. So I asked her, well, okay, how much sun do you get? And she said, and this is circling back to Margaret for a minute, she has agoraphobia, which is a fear of public spaces. And so she rarely went outside ever to, because she was just didn't feel comfortable being out in public. She had a lot of other issues too, but that was kind of the big thing. So first off, Portland doesn't get much sun to begin with, and she hardly ever gets outside. So I said, well, tell me a little bit about your diet, because now I was thinking vitamin D deficiency. And she said, well, I don't have a very good diet for lots of reasons. And so I said, look, you know what? It probably isn't this simple, but again, nothing to lose. How about you go get tested for vitamin D deficiency? She did, and she found she had quite a severe vitamin D deficiency. So she just started taking a vitamin D supplement and tried to get outside by herself, in a sleeveless shirt whenever it was sunny. And again, she's had a complete 180 turnaround of her symptoms. She's not entirely healed, but it's a dramatic improvement just from making that one change. So to Margaret's point, she obviously has some, if you want to call them mental issues that she needs to address to feel better about herself, and she's working on that. But the one thing that was primarily causing her so-called fibromyalgia symptoms was simply a vitamin D deficiency, which was so easy to fix.
Do you find a lot of people with magnesium deficiencies as well? Sorry, Chris.
I have not.
Like, it's so easy.
Go ahead, Christy. Yeah, you go ahead, Christy. You take that one, Christy.
Magnesium?
Yeah. I'm just like amazed that something like vitamin D can go missed for so long, and it astounds me that people can just go to doctor after doctor after doctor, and nobody says, "Are you getting enough sun?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, Australia.
But I find magnesium deficiency, yes, Tanya, that's a huge
Big one.
Absolutely. And people don't realize what's leaching magnesium out of their system.
Yeah.
And I'm not, again, I'm meat and bones. I'm not a nutritionist, but I find that people are drinking a lot of coffee, a lot of tea, and even things like they're drinking sports drinks,
sodas,
stuff like that.
Sodas, yeah.
And it's actually
terrible.
Sucking the magnesium out of their systems. So one of the biggest things I recommend a lot of people do is Hydrolyte. It's really simple.
Mm-hmm.
You just buy it from the chemist, and it's to help tissue, like when you've had gastro stuff, and you have a Hydrolyte, and once a week or twice a week, and suddenly you're like, oh, I don't feel so headachy or tired or all these things, and their magnesium levels just go up a little bit, and they feel much better. So, most people, sorry?
Yeah. No, I was just going to say the other thing with magnesium, because it helps sleep, and sleep is one of the, apart from nutrition, not having enough sleep is, I think, one of the biggest downfalls of our generation. And I think now with increasing in social media, in regards to what I said I was going to do a blab on about actually blabbing with a purpose, you've got more people sitting inside maybe when they should be sitting out in the sun and going to bed earlier.
Yes.
Well, and dermatologists seem to think that, sun is evil now, and we're supposed to slather on, the sunblock everywhere we go, even if we go out for 10 minutes. And, I'm fair, as you can see, and I've had a little bit of sun damage in my face, but I refuse to subscribe to this. I mean, we've evolved, for God's sakes, over hundreds of thousands of years. The sun is good for us. It's essential for us. It does a lot of things for us besides give us essential vitamin D, which is very hard to get elsewhere, by the way.
Yes.
Getting up out of our chair and going outside and getting a bit of sun every day is absolutely essential.
Vintuitive has said, Vin, on the side, that we have had decades of brainwashing that sun is bad,
exactly. Thank you, Vin.
and slap and all of that. So we apply, chemical stuff on our skin to get rid of the good source of vitamin D that's going to help us. And then there was a comment, Vin also asked any tips for rheumatoid arthritis. I put back, I often think some of those chronic conditions, I always ask people, after managing their pain levels and the symptoms and getting deeper into how we can heal, you know, the foundation of this, a key question I always ask people is, what's the worst thing that's ever happened in your life? Because then that will invariably be held as a tension or a stress or an upset or an anxiety or
Absolutely.
a guilt. And therein lies some of the, you know, huge contributor to the problem.
Especially mental
And so-
problems, I would say. Absolutely, no question. Lots of mental illnesses, I think, come back to that sort of early childhood or, you know, trauma in their past.
Yes, and my research, when I was writing my book, the Longing to Live book, showed that contributed to fibromyalgia, and I agree with you, Reid, that it's no more than a name for pain in my body. None of these things are definitive, and I'm not really one for labels as such. I think let's treat the person as the person with what they've got going on in them. But let's say we do have this tag fibromyalgia, meaning pain in the body. What I found was that the contributors were, one of them was a trauma experience in their lives, as well as, like what you said, Reid, the environmental factors and other factors going on. But trauma, either emotional or physical trauma, was definitely one of them. And when I put that to one of the people I was working with, I said, does this make sense to you? Like, they had a diagnosis of fibromyalgia. I said, does this make sense to you, a physical or emotional trauma? And she hadn't thought about it, but then she said, oh my goodness, you've just reminded me. I got knocked on the head by a coconut. Always lived in the tropics, and she was knocked out by a coconut.
Who knows,
you know, when
right?
she was younger, but it had completely gone out of her, you know, line of focus until I said that. So that was interesting that she related to it as a fibromyalgia patient, if you like, and that's what I found in the research, you know, for one of the contributors of fibromyalgia, that there is a trauma. I would go on to say that for most conditions, it doesn't matter what label it has, I'd be wondering about that trauma that's sitting underneath the symptoms.
And it's not often until they dig underneath that they get reminded of it.
The time, I don't like to go over the hour in these because I like to honour people's time. And just, if, you know, run around the room again, and one last tip, if you like, or something to finish off on from each of you. So we go the other way, Christy.
Get a massage.
Anything?
Always good.
Well,
Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
lining up when I'm in Brisbane next.
Yes, and seriously, just don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel like it's an indulgence. Your body works really hard. You do a lot with it. It goes everywhere you go. Just take it in for a service. You take your car.
Love that.
Get a massage. And even if it's a half an hour foot massage somewhere, but just don't feel guilty about it, because it's really good for you. That's it. That's my tip.
Right on.
Amanda said there are some things that people don't remember, and yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's part of the work I do, is to help uncover these, you know, what might be trapped somewhere in the past that they've actually forgotten about. So thanks, Amanda, for reminding us of that. I was hoping Amanda would have come on today. She came in a little late, but come in next week, Amanda. That'd be great, because she's got, I saw something, some amazing stuff that she had on Facebook, and I said, come join us. So maybe, Amanda, if you could write your webpage or something as a link for people to follow up if they want to. It was an apparatus for asthma, perhaps. I jogged my memory. Okay, so one last comment from you, Tanya.
Apart from me ringing you, Christy, to book in for Friday, apart from what I said before about being mindful, being mindful, but I think, as I said before, sleep, get sleep.
Yeah, that's good. Great tip. Sleep is so important. And Reid, last comments from you?
Well, you really put a lot of pressure on me with these just one thing, comments. But I guess if it's one additional thing, I would like to just kind of talk about that. I think too often we put our faith in doctors or health professionals, too much faith in, health professionals, and not take enough responsibility ourselves for our own health. And there's an interesting quote, and I forget who said it, but we shouldn't take our body to the doctor as if it were a body shop, a repair shop, and I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, doctors have, dare to say, there's other motivations. Doctors don't see you for a very long time, 10 minutes if you're lucky, because they're trying to make a living, and they typically don't get paid a lot if they see you for more than 10 minutes. So you typically have a very short visit when you go to see a doctor. Most healthcare professionals, I think, are like that. And as a result, I know, Christy, probably not you. Right on, girl. I hear you. But because most other doctors, it's a very short visit, you end up the visit with a prescription that just treats the symptoms, not the cause. So the one thing I can leave you with is, don't always trust a healthcare professional to look after your health, because they have other interests. I hate to say it. And normally they're just going to treat the symptom. Only you have the motivation and the information and the time to really look into and analyze and find the true cause of your problem.
Yeah. That's such a good point, Reid. And I think we do rely on the professionals way too much. And we actually know our bodies most of all, and we've got the greatest investment in it. So put that faith in yourself, knowing that you're going to have the greatest interest and investing in, your body and your health. So I suppose my parting comment to wind this up today is self-care in all of this, in all the pain, whatever it is, to be gentle with yourselves and to find things that nurture you. And if you're ever in Brisbane, go get a massage from the muscle mechanic.
Yeah. Muscle mechanic. I like that.
And find things that just nurture you and have you feel good. So look, thanks heaps, Christy, Tanya, and Reid.
Thanks for having me.
We could talk on, but I'm doing a wellbeing weekly the same time each week, and it'll be a different topic each week. I think next week I've already thought in my mind it will be having a go at stress.
Oh, beautiful. Great topic.
Let's hit stress on the head. And so I'll be posting that up and announcing it later on. And I hope you can join in. But thanks heaps for your wisdom from all of you. Whatever perspective, it's all valid. And all the people who have put comments on the side, and all the viewers who are watching from the computer, and the replay viewers. It's great to have you join us, and just take care and be gentle. Hope you can tune in
next week. Thanks for setting it up, Mara. Great meeting you. I'm going to send Tanya a little note offline here when we finish up, and see if there's anything I might be able to do to help you with your pain. But I'll just send you a quick note.
That's lovely.
And I'll be in contact with you, Christy, for an appointment.
Awesome.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Okay, bye, guys. Thanks so much.
See you all again soon. Bye-bye. Mhm.